Hey guys, Dave again. How are you? Sorry to be a little late on this video. I guess yesterday Joe Biden went out and made some comments. Yesterday was the third anniversary of the Parkland shooting, the largest school mass shooting in U.S. history. So he went out to church yesterday. Coming out of church, released a statement. It went a little like this. So yesterday Biden promised Parkland families that his administration will do better, clear dig at the Republican Party, on gun reform and urged Congress to enact stricter gun laws. Over these 3 years, the Parkland families have taught all of us something profound. Time and again, they have showed us how we can turn our grief into purpose, to march, organize, and build a strong, inclusive, and durable movement for change, he said in a statement released from the White House. In his statement, Biden called on the lawmakers to enact common sense gun law reforms, including requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. I have a video where they're trying to do the same thing to ammo retailers. Go watch that. They're using a little-known lawsuit in New York to try to make that happen. Probably why you can't order ammo online at Bass Pro. I have a lot of problems with this statement. He goes on and where he says that we're not going to wait for another. So he goes on to say, this administration will not wait for the next mass shooting to heed the call. We will take action to end our epidemic of gun violence and make schools and communities safer. Here's my problem, is they're taking a lot of steps to do the exact opposite while saying statements like this. So let me give you some examples. So they're working with counselors, not cops. So what is Counselors Not Cops? So basically it's an initiative by dignityschools.org. I'll put the link down in the description where you can see it. But basically this organization wants to remove all cops from schools. Sometimes they're referred to as SROs, school resource officers. So basically they're law enforcement in some form or capacity. They're typically armed. They're in schools all the time. They're designed to prevent mass shootings. They're to be an on-site presence to help deter and not make schools soft targets. So if your administration is really out to not wait for the next mass shooting, to me that's foretelling that you're saying that there will be another mass shooting, which I think is a terrible, horrendous statement to go ahead and say that you're predicting that and that's going to happen. And I'm very disappointed. That's where I'm at. I'm a little irritated. Anyway, so what does Counselors Not Cops do? So they have three main initiatives. Let's run through them real quick. So the first one, end the regular presence of law enforcement in schools. So they want to remove any law enforcement personnel that are assigned to be present on a regular basis in and around schools during school hours. So all cops removed from schools, which we just talked about, I think is a terrible idea. You need that presence there. It's such a large gathering. Would you have a sporting event without police present? Could you see the NFL going, we don't want cops at NFL games? I mean, what's a school? It's thousands of people gathered in one location. You have to have organization and control of that. Like, that's exactly what cops are for. Second initiative, create safe schools through positive safety and discipline measures. So this one, to me was ambiguous and just kind of went all over the place. I'll do my best to summarize it down into 5 or 6 little points, that the best I could make out of what this was. So the first one, help prevent and address safety concerns and conflict. Very arbitrary, it didn't give a lot. Monitor school entrances and ensure a welcoming environment. Are schools not welcoming now? Okay. Respond to the root causes of behavior. Prevent and intervene to stop intergroup and interethnic tension. Address students' needs. And the last one, work with stakeholders to create a school safety plan, including a plan for evacuation should the need arise, and ensure all staff are trained to carry out the plan. Who protects everyone while they're evacuating if the school police are gone? Like, basically, this is just a fire drill. That's all it becomes at that point. And if there's, God forbid, a shooter, hope you don't get shot. Like, what? Number 3, restrict the role of law enforcement that are called into schools. So now, we don't have police there, but if they come, they're not allowed to do everything that cops are allowed to do. So the first one of number 3, setting strict limits on what law enforcement personnel can and cannot do when they are called to schools to respond to serious criminal matters, including notifying the school before entering school property, requiring that school officials immediately contact a student's parents or guardians when law enforcement is called, and whenever possible, call the parents before law enforcement is called, and require caregiver notification before interrogating or questioning a student. So the first call isn't to the police here. The first call is to the student's parents and then to the police. I think if the offense is important enough that we need to call the police in the first place, let's call the police and then call parents. And then the last one for number 3, prohibiting law enforcement from approaching, interrogating, questioning, fining, ticketing, responding to warrants, or arresting students on school grounds for non-school related incidents. I'm pretty sure when you're an adult, the police can come to your work and arrest you. If the police know where you're at and you've done something wrong, you need to be arrested. Anyway. So the Biden administration is partnering with these guys and they're working with groups like this. And I have some more examples that we're going to get into where they're continuing to allow this to undermine school safety. Now, if the administration is really about preventing school shootings, and that's really the motive, why are we not using executive orders or mandating down that more school police officers have to be on site? Why are we not reinforcing schools to prevent this? I'm pretty sure when Biden got inaugurated, they brought in the National Guard to protect the place. They didn't bring in counselors to talk to people who weren't happy about the election. They brought in police and they brought in soldiers. Like, why are we not doing that for our students and for our kids? Like, we're talking out of both sides of our mouth here. One of the last things that we're going to get into. So in Chicago, there were 72 schools with school resource officers. 55 of those schools voted to keep their school resource officers. 17 of the schools voted to remove the school resource officers. The mayor in Chicago said she heard the voice of the students and is now cutting the budget for the school resource officers from $33 million to $12 million. And the 17 schools are immediately having their school resource officers removed. And the other 55 are being evaluated. I'm not really sure how 55 to 17 is the voice, but I like math, so I don't know. And then in the end, and I'll put links to the NPR article. I'll put links to the ABC Chicago article on the schools. I'll give you a link to Counselors Not Cops, so you guys can read this material for yourself. I don't make this stuff up. I don't understand why we're making schools police-free zones. I don't know how police-free zones help drug-free zones, which schools are supposed to be. But last I checked, schools are public property. Where else in the country can you go on public property where you don't run into police or police actively can't be there? If your city has a spot where cops aren't going to be, let me know. I'm coming out. We're going to do some drag racing. Good luck. My truck's pretty fast. So we'll see what happens. But I don't understand why it's okay to remove police from public property, especially when there's thousands of people gathered in these environments. You wouldn't do it at a sporting event. You don't do it at an inauguration. There's only 2 reasons that I can really come up with. The first is just ignorance. The people proposing these solutions are just completely inept. They can only look at one singular issue and focus on it to the detriment of the entire ecosystem. And hell or high water, like we're just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and we're going to solve for this one problem. And if everything else burns down, oh well, at least we solved that one problem. Or the second one, which in my opinion is probably has the higher likelihood. There's an ulterior motive, and this is just a smoke screen so that that motive can be executed. And if that's the one, it's really, really bad, because what you're doing is you're using child lives and the safety of kids as political theater and collateral damage to push through this other narrative that you want, which is really, really bad. And you have to ask yourself if that's what you think is going on here, and if that's what you think is happening, and the people that are in office, if you think they have your best interest at heart. Now, I know my answer. I'm not going to put it out here. I try not to give my vote on this channel. Search in your heart, think in your heads. What are they really saying here? What do these comments mean? What are they? At this point, they're being kind of obvious about the things that they're trying to do and the ways that they're trying to do them. Watch out. Things are dangerous. If your kids go to school, be really careful. Be really selective. I worry for parents out there. Yeah. I don't know. More doom and gloom. Hey, happy Monday. I'll catch you guys in the next one.